Hello, my beautiful co-creators. Lilou here with Barbara Dossey. Hello, Barbara.
How are you?
What
Good
a
to
delight.
see you, Lilou. It's fabulous. Yeah.
Barbara is the wife of Dr. Larry Dossey that I've interviewed last week on the Juicy Living Tour. And it's absolutely phenomenal meeting people like you along the way and seeing all those beautiful synchronicities happening for this to be a global conversation online and inspire other people.
Well, the thing that excites me too is here you are at your young age and you're already a global citizen. You are truly taking advantage of the technology, of the internet to get this message out there.
And it's very important, I feel, right now.
Yeah.
I really want to get into all your universe and your world because it's very rich and abundant, and you've got so much knowledge to share with us. So very grateful for this conversation. You wrote over 23 books.
I have,
co-wrote.
yes, yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I tell you what, when you've been in a profession 46 years and you begin to focus and then to join like-minded colleagues, there's just, there are projects after project after project, and it's simply, it is, it's fabulous. And then the journey I have right now is working with young people like you to mentor them. How can they take the work that my generation, and actually we're looking at 2 generations now when I look at you, and how can the work go further than it has right now? And this is what I know is going to happen, is that we have reached a moment in time in history where it is not, yes, the technology, use it in the best way possible, but the thing that I would love to share with you some ideas is how do we expand our own understanding of our states of consciousness, how that we can engage in self-care to create healing.
That's beautiful. Let me just remind everybody that is watching that, so as I said, you wrote 23 books, but you're internationally recognized in the holistic nursing movement.
Right.
And that's always been a passion, and you've been really looking at deeply into Florence Nightingale's life, and you wrote books. So we're going to speak about her and this mystic and this healer and visionary later on. But for now, let's just can you paint for us the what is holistic nursing, first of all?
Nose itches. It's a wonderful question, and let's do drop back to that. Holistic nursing is a philosophy. It is a way of engaging with patients, with families, and with colleagues. And it is a way of being in service to shift one's consciousness to simultaneously use the highest level of technology with our states of consciousness so that people can access their own healing, whatever their situation is.
Where are we at in hospitals compared to what you just said?
Okay, this is the exciting time right now. Is number one, people are in hospitals shorter periods of time. So how can we help them understand what they're being asked to do of, let's say, take certain medications or doing certain other kind of prescriptives for self-care. And so that would be helping them have a game plan when they leave the hospitals. But specifically, as we look at in the hospital, some real practical examples here is how do you engage people's consciousness in their own behalf? And one of the ways to do that, let's take an example of someone in pain. So as a nurse, I could give someone a pain medicine, but then simultaneously, how do I help them shift from being tense and tight to beginning to relax and be with the medicine as it moves into their system and helps them relax? So what I would do as a nurse at the bedside, let's say, oh goodness, let's use a big example. Let's say a patient after a heart attack. They're having pain again. And so as a nurse, I would be giving medication through an intravenous line. It would be a very powerful medicine. And then what I would simultaneously say to that person, as I now am giving this medication through this intravenous line, it's going to be in your blood system very, very fast. And actually, it's already in there. So let yourself begin to relax with this medicine. And so what I would do is I would simultaneously just teach someone to say, just watch your breath right now. And you might even want to close your eyes. And I'm just going to stay here with you until you get very relaxed and you're pain-free. So you see, my words are not only suggestion, I'm using the technology, but I am using myself as an instrument in this healing process. So when we look at holistic nursing, it is the total environment. It is the environment that that patient is in. That patient also has his own interior way of being. So he or she is telling, oneself stories. And if they keep on saying, I'm never going to get rid of this pain, it's just horrible, what do? They escalate that. But then here I am recognizing that I'm part of this great field of consciousness. And so I, as a nurse then, have to move deeply into my deepest place and to be calm. I'm scanning everything. I'm looking at monitors. I'm looking at skin color on that patient. I'm doing all of those external behaviors that nurses do very, very well. But simultaneously, I'm engaging the person and releasing anxiety, to let go of fear, to listen to the words in their story. So to take this one step further, I'd given that example of a patient with chest pain. So when patients describe pain, they will often just do things like, it takes my breath away. And so it takes my breath away. They stay with that story. It takes their breath further away. Or the pain, and nurses do ask people to describe, what their pain is like. And so let's say if a pain would say, it's right here in the center of my chest, and it's like a tight band that just gets tighter and tighter every time I try to relax. So I, as the nurse, aware of how I have the ability to be with this person, to get in touch with their story and their states of consciousness, then I can say, can you go with me for just a second? And when you were tying that band tighter around your chest, can I take your finger right now and go with me and take a breath in, and let's begin to just kind of untie that band. And I would watch them breathe. And then I would still have their hand again saying, is this okay? And some patient might say, this is really crazy. And I said, oh, it may sound crazy, but are you willing to go a few more times? And a nurse that is confident will engage the patient at that particular level. And you know how far you can shift to help them relax. So it's grabbing the story, because this is what patients do, and this is what nurses also do really well.
Yes.
We're curious.
So passionate
We're
about
curious. And we love.
She's got shining eyes. She's got tears in the eyes.
Yes,
what moves
just
you?
Talking about moving me.
What moves you?
To walk that journey with another. And to not have to make anything happen. To remember that that person is whole. He or she brings their wholeness with them. They get stuck, and I can feel a tear coming down, so I'm just going to use my... But these are happy tears.
Yes. These are life tears.
Yeah, these are life tears, and this is the journey.
Yeah.
And so people don't want to be in the hospital.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in a clinic. But if that is the privilege I have that day of walking with them, if it's going to be 1 to 2 minutes, or if it's going to be a 15 or 20 minute visit, or depending if I was working in a private practice or a collaborative practice with other physicians and other healers, such as acupuncturists, chiropractic, all of these different people, reflexologists, healing touch practitioners, because we're seeing a lot of this now. These types of multiple practitioners are beginning to be in clinic situations as well in hospital situations. So when Larry and I began this journey, it's hard to believe, in the mid-60s, and here we are now in 2011, and at the beginning of a brand new decade, 2011, 2020. How can we take this message of consciousness and healing, bring it and make it very alive in everybody's lives?
Yeah, because I was going to say, this is already what we're talking about, what you're referring to. You're already an evolved soul that is, there to help, and I really feel your love and passion and what you bring to patients. But are most of the nurses and doctors and hospitals at this level? How do you find them responding to that type of loving energy? Are they easily adapting now, or easier and easier maybe?
Yes, and the reason that it is easier is simply because this has been really a dialogue with a small group of people since the early 60s. And with that now, we have a body and a wealth of literature. So when people say, oh, we don't have time for that, to simply say something about a study. According to this study, it is showing that within 2 to 5 weeks that we really can shift our brain physiology and our consciousness by simply taking a period of time, 15, 20 minutes a day, to sit and be quiet. Whatever you want to call it. Meditation, prayer, watching the breath, looking in your mind at an image. And it's changing. I would say that all physicians and nurses want to access this level of beingness with every person they encounter. However, the system has beaten it out of healthcare providers. We have a certain amount of time, 3 to 5 minutes, for office visits with physicians. When patients are clear about their story, they can have a focused question when they come into the clinic or to be with a doctor. The physician or the nurse or any practitioner can easily get into that story. But this is part of our education process, is we give the power back to the patient.
Yeah.
And when we let patients know that it is their life, we are here to serve them. So how can we walk this journey together? That's the mutual creating that plan of care, because there is not one plan of care for everybody. I mean, you can have 100 patients with that are just recovering from a heart attack, but their plan of care and the way they create a plan for changing lifestyle, it's going to be different for everybody.
And it seems like we are the one, or as nurses, or even in our life, even people that are not nurses, it's about changing our perception of time too, and changing our perception of how things can be done, because in the present moment there seems to be magic, and then you know exactly what to do with that patient at that time. It's not an intellectual process. I mean, it'd be quite hard for this industry, if I can call it, this profession, this body, to go into this state of mind. Right.
But the thing that and that is what keeps me going, is to educate young nurses that are in their 30s, such as you are, and just say, let's look at the evidence, let's look at examples, and all people are sponges, but one thing I'm seeing about these young people, and you're that, you empower me to continue doing what I'm doing. And you understand technology, you're not afraid of it. You are saying what I can do, however I participate locally. And so it's like, here you're filming Larry and me in our living room, but this is going to go globally. So we have this capacity now to hook people up to look at what is the highest level of consciousness, so that we can truly be concerned global citizens. And so how do we create peace and harmony in our own lives? And when we do that, it's peace in a home, goes to a community, it goes to a workplace, it goes to, for example, this afternoon I've got a conference call, and there are 5 of us on the conference call, and we're in all different cities around the United States. But we will start that conference call, because we have big work to do, with going around. There's one person that's a facilitator, and she will go around and ask each of us how we're doing. We will do something like a weather report, and today my weather report checking in would be sunshine and blue sky, which means for me, I feel a sense of peace. I'm excited. But let's say if it had been 3 or 4 days ago and I'd had that same conversation at this particular time, I would have gone, wind coming from all directions, there is movement of clouds, and it is, it's scary in a way. But you see, even if that's my story, in any moment, I can say that's where I am, and thank you for asking, because I'm now going to settle down and let go of everything else that I have to do today and be in this moment. And you said something that's really important then. Where does healing happen? Where does this shift in consciousness happen? It happens in this moment. And so if we can just take a breath in, and out, and focus on this moment, the only moment. This is where the healing happens. We're always in a hurry, you know.
Yeah.
Way back there, or I should have done this back there. But it's what's going on right now.
And not identifying ourselves with this process also seems to be a big part of it.
I think a way to speak about this would be the relational flow of life. How are we in relationship to moving through our day in this particular moment where we want to focus? And that is, we've heard the word multitasking, and we know from the literature right now that people don't multitask well. They try to do 3 or 4 things, but we diffuse the energy. So let's say if I'm sitting down at my computer and I am getting ready to write, I need to be in that moment to move into that space of not trying to construct the perfect sentence or the perfect paragraph, but just let it flow. What do I want to say in this moment? And then go back later and edit. So that's that same thing when we go into a conversation. And I feel like right now that we've gone beyond conversation, because there's something about, I feel a resonance. I feel an energy of being here with you in this moment. We are looking at concepts and ideas, but there's something about the field that we've created where we're in this together. It's not you and me, but the way we're just already going back and forth off of each other's energy. Yeah.
I really appreciate that, and I feel that, and it's really beautiful to be with a person like you that has that presence, and that has this presence. It's really it. It's really it. I mean,
and we all have it.
Yeah.
It's just that
we get distracted. So.
We get distracted, and if we can stay in the present moment. And I think another piece is, we have such a wonderful group of people that will be, sharing in this conversation. And actually, I'd like to even look at your camera and say, join us, and have that conversation with people that you're with, and look at what you're doing in your own life. So it's like self-care is the big piece in our life, and we get so busy. Self-care actually costs nothing. So if we can focus on the breath, because it's something that happens all the time. People say, oh, nothing's going right, but to be able to just say, oh, I'm breathing. I'm not having to make myself do this. If we can look at present moment, and then if we can integrate throughout the day different ways to care for ourselves, just these 3 to 5 minute little pieces of caring for ourselves. And this is a great thing about the literature. It just shows that yes, something accomplished different when you take the 20-minute break, but we know from other pieces of research that these 3 to 5 minutes also have an accumulative effect, and it helps you stay in that flow state and not try to have to, always work hard to make something happen.
We really have to shift that.
And then just basics. It's what our grandmothers told us. Eat good food. Start
Vibrant
out.
food.
Yes, alive food. Live food. And I can remember, growing up in the South. I mean, one of the things we did is we had a hot breakfast in the morning. We started with a, oatmeal, or we would have, a scrambled egg, or we would have, a good solid breakfast in order to go to school. And so how many people don't put fuel in their body? We can say, good fuel in your car. Well, it's good fuel that keeps us, going. The nutrition is, eating color. It's not hard.
Different colors.
Colors. I mean, just to have a plate that is alive with green and red and yellows and goldens and greens, and mixing those, and then combining, the garlic and the ginger and all that stuff. It just, number one, it's cheaper than buying foods that are already processed. And then we can look at exercise, just basic stuff. And so it's, I look at the last week because we've had so much snow and it was really cold outside. But to get my little stair step out, because I can't walk in the neighborhood, and that's my preferred way right now, is a brisk walk, but also just jumping in place 100 times, which is, it is absolutely fun. You know, imagining I have a jump rope.
Oh, cool.
And doing it 100 times, and then all of a sudden it turns playful, and it's exciting. Of course, it's, you know, having some, you know, good shoes on while I'm, you know, doing it so I don't hurt my ankle and stuff like that. But doing that, you know, 500 to 700 times, you know, working up to it if I haven't done it, and then all over the house, these stretch handles, and I'm sure you've seen them, the ropes, is, you know, doing, you know, a really, you know, stretching, and it's an aerobic doing it.
But so that's where the holistic is important, because it's not just a fix, or it's not to do this, but it's really every day. It's a philosophy of life.
Exactly. And then what are those life practices? And so when we look at it from an integral perspective, it's the inner and the outer, and that is the inner individual. It's what I do interior, and then my external behaviors, such as that. And then the collective, that how do I come together with the people I live with, the people that I'm in community with, and then when I go out to be in the bigger systems, like going into hospital systems, or going to meetings in my community, or national, wherever I'm going.
Or going to big New York, because you just came back from New York.
And it was something.
You have to bring all those practices to there.
That's right. And it is moment to moment, because yes, that was very exciting, very intense, but staying focused to teach with 2 colleagues for 4 days, and then bringing it all in. I think the other thing that is very important for us as we talk about all of this is really looking at coming back to ideal weight. We have gotten to the point of where, as a society, there's too much eating of fast foods, and they're hidden foods, they're not alive foods. And if we can come back to just trying to do 1 or 2 things a day, and then before you know it, and you're eating food that's alive, when you start eating processed food, you just go yuck, and it depletes your energy. And so it's planning about every hour and a half or 2 hours to have a good, nutritious, alive snack. Something happens. I think that we also have to look at managing the ideal weight. That goes along with the nutrition, but then looking at mental and emotional, social, relationships. What kind of choices are we going to make in our life? And then the human spirit. What are those big questions that keep us alive? It's like, what is meaningful for me today? Why? What is it that happens when I know I'm working for my soul's purpose? If I'm trying to do just a bunch of projects, just get them done.
That's empty.
Oh, it's exhausting. But and I'm a list taker. Man, I love to make lists, and I love to scratch things off my list. The challenge right now is I can scratch 3 things off, but I put 5 more on. The projects are bigger than they ever have been, which is exciting. The projects don't finish as quickly as they used to. It's because the work is now bigger, it's bolder. I don't do my work alone, and when you start getting 5 to 10 people on a project, it just is, it's process. Process moves as it should. You can't rush it. And I continue to work with people that understand process. And when we lose process, we come right back and we settle in. We go, okay, there's something about the meeting that's not working. Let's go back, find our place. And when we find our place, also what happens is we don't do the cross-talking. And I am very blessed to work with groups of people where we always have a facilitator. And that facilitator calls on people to talk. We also have a talking piece. So we'll put something in the center of the table. And I mean, conversations can get very heated, and everybody wants to talk at one time. But then to know that the ground rules are, speak from your heart, and when you speak, have the talking piece. Or the facilitator calls on you to speak. And something happens. And then another thing that we do because I'm working on quite a few projects right now, is when someone speaks from the heart, because there is an opening that happens. Anytime anybody shares a story, if we can drop into being in this deep space of not judging, but listening to that story and seeing if we can catch a thread of the story that will remind us of a place of ourself that's in need of healing, or a wisdom, just a pearl that comes out like that. And then in speaking in this way too, another thing that we do too, with several groups I'm working in right now, when we get through talking, to let there be a space, because sometimes you can still be in that space in your story, and there is you want to say something else, but then you will hesitate and go, no, I'm not. But then you will start again. So where I'm going with this is, when that person's speaking, we just have this kind of, guideline, is when you're through speaking, is that you just kind of bow to the group and say, I'm through. And then allowing a space before the next thing is entered into. So it really helps.
Tell us about your own personal journey and how you discovered all this. I know Florence Nightingale was a big part probably of that.
Well, Florence Nightingale has always been there. I certainly learned about her when I was in school in the early 1960s. I did not ever read any of Nightingale's work until about 1995. So two parallel things. How did I get into holistic nursing? Here I am working as a critical care and cardiovascular nurse with patients that are very sick in intensive care units. I've given all the medication, I've done all the procedures, but here is this person that still has anxiety and fear. I realized that I had to do more of my own inner work so that I could trust that I had the capacity to answer these questions and not have to fix things. And this is what we refer to as bearing witness to someone's story and their suffering. And when we do that, we don't have to fix things. So it is this journey of learning how, as a nurse, at one level I'm expert and I have a nursing license and I have to practice that way, recognizing all of these potential, situations that could happen, problems. But then the other part of that is as a nurse coach, of being there to walk with, maybe walk a little behind, but I am there to support you in your journey of discovery. And that's a big difference of when I can help you or whoever I'm working with to listen to what they're saying, to catch a thread of the story and ask another question. It's that curious. And it's not, investigating, but it's just curious. What are the pieces of your life? You just asked me a question there. And so to take that, the story of my life, how did I get here? So critical care, I know there's something else. So in the early 60s, I started going to meditation retreats, going to relaxation and imagery, exploring biofeedback, learning a lot of different modalities, getting certificates in different areas.
And awards? Many.
Well, yeah.
Along the way?
I'm blessed. But the thing is, yes, I have gotten awards. But more than that, it's about recognizing that this work and this journey, this collective journey we're all on, is about the we of how we bring healing into our work. And then, as I began to do these, I simply didn't plant this part of myself at the back door of the critical care unit. I began to walk in and very carefully navigate, to weave and put this together, to share my journey with others, and to find soulmates that I could work with. And then that began the journey of how do we create a teaching tool around this? How do we then take it to our nurse manager and say, what do you think about us having something where everybody on the unit learns this? Then what about if we do 2 or 3 pilot studies on different units? Well, what if this becomes part of our nurse orientation about caring for yourself? So starting with basically taking a break, taking a lunch break, just those little things begin to help weave this in. So that's been the journey.
And it has been unfolding like that. You're just on the journey and it's unfolding.
Yeah, and that's it. It's just watch the mystery unfold, because it's just stay steady and work and meet people and network, and before you know it, here is this gigantic opening that's just, it's just happening. So I would say that's one of the journeys I'm on right now with my colleagues, is in creating, expanding this role of the nurse coach. Because as we focus on self-care and wellness, nurses must not only be doing this in their own life and in the hospitals, but simultaneously moving this out into the community and working to help people create their self-care and wellness assessments, and to begin to really help them make a commitment about what they're going to do before, let's say, if I'm seeing someone every 2 weeks, before you come back in 2 weeks and you say you want to do something about eating better and getting more exercise and maybe meeting a friend for lunch. You haven't had lunch with a girlfriend in 3 months, let's say, because you've just been so busy, and you go, man, that's an empty place in my life. How do I change that? So it's, helping you go, opening up all these areas that are there, but just, making a commitment, and I would work with you to, look at exploring this.
Can you hear my song? Can you hear my song? Can you hear I'm your mother, earth, I'm your mother. Can you hear have you noticed I'm taking a stronger stand for myself? Have you noticed it's necessary for my survival and my health? Have you noticed something inside of you change every day? Have you noticed